Pop, pop, pop. Welcome back to the ToppeePop Popcast, where I, ToppeePop, will be providing you guys with 1 hour of audio entertainment. But today, we're going to be doing something a bit more special. So if you are a viewer instead of a listener, if you actually look at the video, sorry, my voice kind of just crumbled there. But if you look at the actual video, because, you know, I upload this on YouTube, I don't upload this on Spotify or whatever, so most likely you guys would still be able to see the video, right? I am actually drawing, as you can see. Well, at least you can see Eclipse Studio web application on right now on the screen. I don't plan on doing this for every single podcast. I think I just wanted to try it out this time. I know it doesn't really make sense for audio listeners, so what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna explain what I'm drawing and what I'm looking at and things like that. Today I want to focus more on drawing. I want to actually talk about my drawing progress. And yeah, right now I'm not going to be drawing anything crazy. I'm just going to be practicing my poses because that's something I want to practice with. I find I'm not the best at, I'm okay at body anatomy now, but posing it, like moving it, is a different story. Like moving the body is a different story. You need to understand how each of the body moves, right? Like how each body part moves, right? One thing that's really important is you need to understand, like for the skeleton specifically, you need to understand what doesn't move and what moves. And you also need to understand that things can move by themselves without other things moving, right? That's a really important thing to understand. But yeah, let's actually start drawing some posing practices. So I guess if you're actually looking at the video, also I think my audio won't be picked up as much this time, like in terms of like loudness, just because I'm gonna be mostly looking at my tablet screen, which is kind of the opposite direction of my mic. So if my audio sort of just switches in between like me talking to the mic and not to the mic, that's just because that's the reason why. Maybe next time I'll actually set it up so the tablet is actually facing my mic. Or where I'm facing will be towards the mic and the tablet. But anyways, if you look at my screen, I've actually been practicing a bit with poses. So I've been trying to, so I did like a bit of like a front back pose. It's mostly a back pose, but they're looking to the front, right? I did a quick like sketch for that. And then I did one where they're sort of not leaning that forward, but leaning a bit forward, having hips to the left, right? So hips to the left a bit higher than the usual. So yeah, we're gonna try doing that. So I've actually got 2 poses up. I'm pretty sure I'll only be able to do 2 poses throughout this thing. Or maybe if I can do more, I'll probably just get some more down. But I'm pretty sure I'll only be able to do 2 because I'm not that quick at it. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to explain the pose and I'll see how this goes. I also during the drawing process, I'll probably talk about like things about like body anatomy and all that kind of stuff, but also just my progress in art, right? Because I've really, I only started doing art like 2.5 years ago now. I don't actually remember how long. But it's been a journey and I've learned a lot of things, especially in the last like 3 months where I actually took proper courses to understand how to draw better, like how to make art look better, right? So let's actually start doing some stuff. So you're gonna hear some buttons like that just because I think my tablet, because my tablet's close to the mic, so you're gonna hear some stuff, but I'm pressing buttons. So hopefully I also don't get interrupted today, so the first step when it comes to like practicing poses, right, is to actually trace over. Not completely trace over, but more like if you did body anatomy, right, you'd understand like, where is it? I'll just do red here. You'd understand that like how you would draw your body proportions, right? Especially for gesture drawing, right? You don't want to do something too complicated. Essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get like I'm not completely tracing over. I'm trying to like draw my guidelines, right? And how I would draw like the rib cage. How would I draw the pelvis and all that kind of stuff. So currently I'm doing the head. The head is interesting because a lot of people draw as a circle to help them, you know, draw. Like when you draw a head, people draw a circle to, you know, draw a head. For me, I'm drawing a cube because I find that much more comfortable to do. I did that again. But yeah, so it's not exactly a cube, it's a rectangular prism, right? Because the face isn't, you know, a cube. It's not. If you actually seen proper faces, you would notice that it is not a square. Oh my god, of course I get a message. Let me just double check just in case. Okay, that was really loud though. I'm surprised the mic can hear that. I love my little scuffed popcasts. But yeah, we're going to try doing that. Okay, that looks good. The eyes are going to be here. So when we're drawing anime characters, right, you need to understand that your proportions are going to be very different. Not very different, but they're going to be a bit different from a normal human, right? This first step is essentially just for us to understand where the bodies are placed. Like where the body parts are placed, like the rib cage, the head, the arms, right, the hands, the pelvis, right, the stomach, the legs, right? It's just sort of to help us understand where's where, right? Later on, when we actually draw like properly without going over the actual reference, we'd be able to you'll probably have to fix your proportions after, you know, yeah, you'll be fixing your proportions. So you don't, in this step, try not to focus on proportion, right? Proportion is definitely not your it's definitely not the main key for this part. I can see the ribcage there. So I'm trying to follow where the ribcage is. I can't really see the rest of the ribcage, so that's probably just it there. The navel or the belly button, I think it's called the navel. Yes. So the neck, actually, surprisingly, the neck is sort of here. So with anime characters, they're actually much thinner than neck. It's usually between the eyes. Like the size, you don't want to make it any bigger than the distance between both your eyes. But also, it's just, again, most of this is just like, most of this is essentially just, how do I explain this? It's still an art style, right? You can do whatever you want to do, right? So I'm not used to drawing a pose where the arms are up because I actually don't know how the body how it looks, and we'll see how it goes, right? So this one, you can see the rib cage is sort of angled at maybe about a 20 degree, 30, no, that's about 30 degrees, right? 30 degrees. Usually with art, you want to make the pelvis, so the pelvis is about here, right? Usually you usually want to change the angle, so it's called contrapposto or contrapposto. I don't know what's called, but essentially the idea is changing the angle of making the angle of the rib cage be different from the pelvis, right? So the angle of the pelvis is currently negative like 20 degrees. It doesn't have to be exactly opposite, but it just has to be like the opposite like angle, right? It just makes things look more natural. So yeah. Also, pelvis is actually very surprisingly very hard to do, right? The reason why is because when people draw because drawing the pelvis is probably the most complicated shape. Has the most complicated shape compared to any other part of the body. And that's kind of why I think most people struggle with how to draw the pelvis when they're learning body anatomy. So usually I like to keep simple shapes like a triangle. A triangle would be really good. You can also do a trapezium just to get the general shape. So sort of like that, right? But yeah, I would say there's a lot of things to do. And also, if you actually see the clothes here, you can see how the socks are like sort of concave towards us to show that it's like leaning forward. That's just something to understand when you're doing clothes and stuff to get some perspective, right? Perspective is a hard thing to do, right? And that is the shoulder. Yeah, and basically I got the general gist, right? This is kind of, I want to make more of an S shape here. I think that's okay. And yeah, so now after doing a bit of tracing over the shoulder, I mean over the over the actual body, and also I'm gonna actually try, you know what? I'm gonna try moving my tablet this way. Okay, I'm gonna move my tablet here so now that my audio actually picks up properly. Yeah, okay, there we go. Yeah, this sounds much better. Okay, so I'm going to, but the mic's kind of in the way now. I'm going to now draw, not on the reference anymore. I'm going to actually draw from, like, just on the side of the reference. Basically, my intent, like, basically how I want to pose, right? This character, right? And with the proper body proportions that I like, right? So usually with posing practice, you want to have the intention of being similar to the pose, or you can also try to exaggerate, right? For me, I want to exaggerate a bit to make my pose a bit more dynamic. So we'll just try doing that. By the way, by all means, I don't know, I'm not that well versed in terms of art. Like, I really ain't. I've only been learning art for 2.5 years, so most of my tips, they're probably not very good, okay? But I'm trying to teach, I'm not trying to teach you guys, I'm just trying to tell you guys what I've learned, right, in these last 2.5 years. So yeah, I went from pretty much not being able to do anime characters into, like, at least I can draw an anime character now, right? So usually the ribcage, to make it simpler, you want to draw an egg shape, right? This is pretty much the norm. Now, this pose is a bit kind of facing a bit on the right. It's not exactly forward in the front, so I'm going to make that. I'm going to make the line on it a bit curved. And because of that, so I'm basically drawing a line straight down the ribcage. And I'm making it a bit curved to the right, right? But because of that, I also have to draw a bit of the behind of the ribcage, which is okay. It's not really that much of a difference. You're not really able to see that. After that, I like to sort of get a bit of, because the ribcage sort of does that, I want to, there's going to be two segments below the ribcage. It's going to be inward segment and a bit of an outward segment. And after the outward segment, you'll have your belly button. The belly button is actually really important. I learned this in Chian's course. I learned this in Chian's course on Colosso, right? It was how to draw anime characters or something like that. I forgot what it was called. But it was a very insightful. I never really thought about the navel being like the belly button being a really important part of drawing, but it actually helps you a lot with the proportions. Of course, that's probably just his style as well. But because of this, right, I can have a general idea where the pelvis is going to be as well. So it's going to be about here. I'm going to draw a triangle for now just to make my things simple. So currently I'm drawing a female, by the way. I don't know if I actually said that at all. The reason why I'm drawing a female is just because I've been learning more female body anatomy and I'm only really interested in drawing females right now. But maybe later on I will try to learn male anatomy. And it's not too much different. I mean, obviously the skeletalness is like it's very similar. There's just a bit slight differences, right? And those slight differences does like obviously mean a lot, just because it will actually affect how you draw, like how it looks, how the character looks, especially like the pelvis. The pelvis is more vertical for a male. It also sticks out a bit more for obvious reasons. Especially like the pubic area sticks out a bit more. So for essentially, how do I explain this? Essentially, and for female, their pelvis is a bit more horizontal, right? So that's just something to understand. Yeah, and now I just want to make the general shape. I don't really need to get the most perfect shape here. Yeah, I don't really want to get the most perfect shape here. I don't really care too much. I'm gonna try to exaggerate a bit to make it more anime-ish, right? But overall, oh, so by the way, I also drew the torso first, just because that's something I think I'm more used to. I think drawing the torso first is a good idea. Because I don't know, you can draw the head first as well. I think drawing the head first is probably okay as well. I used to draw the head first when I didn't learn how to actually properly draw. But I think drawing the torso first is actually probably better. Not necessarily because like it's mostly just because the torso is the hardest part to draw. It's not just the hardest thing to draw. It's also the hardest thing to fix, right? If you don't get the torso perfect, what happens is you will find it difficult to fix it. Unlike legs and arms where you can just shorten them or lengthen them however you want. The head is also kind of easy to fix, but the torso very hard to fix. You need to have like you just have to redraw it basically. It is quite hard to fix. I had this problem on stream last night where I drew the torso too big compared to what I usually draw. Like currently right now, the torso is a bit big for me. I don't really like how big it is. So I guess the idea is I'm gonna make the head a bit bigger. That's pretty much my only way of fixing this kind of stuff right now. And anime characters tend to have bigger heads. When you're drawing a full body character, usually it's better to draw a bigger head. Just because that's sort of the main part of the character. And not only that, so you want to make it stand out, right? And it tends to be a bit more difficult if, you know, your head isn't like that big. I'm gonna make the ribcage a bit smaller there because it's supposed to be about 2/3. It's supposed to end like around 2/3 of the actual head. So that's something interesting to note. Also, I'm being a bit sketchy with my my art, but you try not to be too sketchy, as in like sketching it a lot like what I'm doing. Because it's not, I don't think it's good practice. I'm going to move this a bit more, yeah. Yeah, there you go. I think that's a good proportion for the rib cage and the head. Now it's time to do like the arms and legs. So I realize the shoulders are around here. They're a bit like this, right? So for now, I'm just going to have a rough reference. Now, also the good thing about tracing over the reference at the first step is just to see like, oh, where everything is relative to the where all the body parts are relative to each other, right? So also, if you see what I'm doing right now, I'm drawing two arms on one side because I want to see the proportions, right? Because I know how to do the proportions when the body is like when the arms are next to the body, but when it's on top, because right now the character has her hand up behind her head, right? So you can imagine that her elbows would be pretty much all the way up, right? So this makes it harder for me to grasp the proportions. So I'm just drawing another arm below just to get like a bit of help, right? Just get a good estimate, right? Same thing with this side. I'm gonna draw another arm, and then I'll probably erase it a bit later. The arm is a bit lower. Actually, this arm would be it looks a bit shorter, so I'm gonna try to elongate it. Yeah, and once I do that, I'm gonna erase these arms because these arms make no sense to be here. And now let's actually do the legs. So the legs are interesting because there are two legs. Of course, there are two legs. But what I mean is, when I say interesting, I mean one leg is on top of the other leg. So we're just gonna have to just do that. So legs are a bit of a the thing about legs is it's not super hard to draw, but you just have to practice a lot to understand like how you usually draw like a different angle to the legs, right? I'm not even that good at drawing legs, but I'm going to draw them anyways. Here I made it two. I think I made the legs two in front. But in the end, I do want to exaggerate a bit. But when you're drawing, try to have an intention, right? If you don't have an intention for drawing, you might end up like here doesn't make sense, but you might not do as, even though it might turn out better than expected, right? You're not intending that, right? You want to draw something that you intend. I'm just gonna draw a general arm shape. I'm not really thinking about it right now. I'll fix it later. But currently right now, that's what it looks like. The hips could be a bit larger, to be honest. So this part right here is mostly for placement of the body, plus like a bit of a body proportion, but also just kind of like an estimate of like what I want to draw, right? It's not supposed to be perfect at all by any means. The next one I'm gonna do is like a blue line art. So the first part I did was in red line art. This one I'm gonna do in blue line art. Just so I can see a bigger difference. I also reduced the opacity of the other layer. So I'm making a new layer and I'm actually gonna fix pretty much everything about it. So first of all, the head, right? The proportion of the head, right? It's a rectangle, but it's like 1 by 1.8, right? That's sort of the size of it. And also I'm trying to get that. Also, drawing a box, you need to learn how to draw boxes. Learning how to draw boxes is really important. Boxes, it's a bit different than what you'd expect, right? You need to understand perspective and all that stuff. So it's a bit different than what you would think usually if you've drawn boxes in mathematics or something like that. It is not the same. It's all I'm gonna say. So basically, I started doing art 2.5 years ago because I was inspired by someone named Lily Idy, right? I was inspired to do art. I also had a good friend as well that was pretty good at art. And I kind of wanted to... I was inspired by the people around me, right? I was like, I used to do art. I used to be pretty decent at art back at school, but I didn't really do art, like focus on anything. I just kind of was good at sketching, right? Like using a reference. But I never really properly drew an anime character. Unless I was just copying by reference. But I didn't know how to draw one, you know, by like without, you know, having an exact reference, right? But now I was basically drawing for about like 1.5 or 2 years, where I just kept drawing and drawing and drawing. I made a lot of friends during my streaming because I was drawing and streaming, right? I made a lot of friends during my time for streaming, right? And also I'm gonna make the ribcage a bit more. I'm gonna try to make the ribcage a bit more thicker, like more wider. But so I made a lot of friends while streaming, right? And basically when I met a new friend, I just did art for them, right? So this was basically my way of practicing art. Of course, it went pretty well, right? Like, I actually learned quite a lot because I was able to practice so much, right? And yeah, I used to do art on Procreate, and I actually still probably will do Procreate art. I just haven't really, I just haven't done a bit. I just want to work on Clip Studio for now because I want to get used to it. So when I want to go back to Procreate and go back to Clip Studio, there's not like too much of like a problem. I'm really used to Procreate because of all the tools that it has, right? Also, if I draw a vertical line here, right? So I'm drawing a vertical line on the reference. You can actually see where the hips are relative to the actual body. So I'm gonna actually make it a bit more exaggerated on my side. It might not even be that exaggerated, but hopefully it's... Yeah, I'm gonna make it a bit more exaggerated. So actually, to be honest, with body anatomy, you don't actually have to be perfect, right? The reason why, obviously it'd be really good if you're perfect, but the reason why is because you are going to be drawing clothes, right? Unless you are someone who draws very little clothes, right? On your characters. In this case, it is a bit more different, right? Also, my angle is completely different from the actual reference. But that's fine. I mean, that's not fine, but it definitely is very different. I'm actually going to erase this. I'm going to actually make this more... because it wasn't really facing to the right that much. And then I'm going to try to get this like this. And I'm going to try to get that like that. Yeah. So now it doesn't look too like it's facing to the right. Okay. Because in the end, I don't want to, even though I do want to exaggerate, holy crap, I've already taken 29 minutes on this. Okay, I think I'll only be able to do one pose, but I'll try to be a bit more quicker than normal. In the end, this is just my practice for the day, right? So I don't want to rush it too much. But yeah. So this one, you want to foreshorten it a bit because it's leaning forward. So I made the mistake of not foreshortening it. like the leg is like sort of, it's raising her leg, right? So I'm gonna foreshorten it a bit. If you don't know what foreshortening is, the idea of foreshortening is just making the thing close. It's trying to make your body part closer to the camera, right? And this is quite hard. This is a very difficult technique because, yeah, I think it's just genuinely a difficult technique, right? Oh my god, I've been drawing with the wrong pen. I've been drawing with a pencil. That's why I felt like it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like, okay, it didn't feel right, but anyways, that's okay. As you can see, I'm making the legs a bit shorter just because I realized that it doesn't look as good when I made the legs like a bit that long. So yeah, but now the back leg here, that's going to be a bit, the knees are going to be much lower, not that much lower, but it's going to be lower, right? Just because of how that goes. Even the ankles are going to be lower, but the shoes, because one of them is tiptoeing, the other one is just sort of lying on the floor, we're going to leave it like that. They're going to be leveled, obviously. And now with the arms, the arms are probably the most difficult part for me, because they change a lot. The hands are actually the most difficult part, but luckily for me, this one, the hands are behind the head. So that's kind of just lucky. Very, very lucky. Yeah, so I'm just gonna do that. The shoulders are here, so we don't want to forget the shoulders. So actually, one thing people don't realize is the shoulders actually can move, right? This is something I see a lot of artists make mistakes on. They think the shoulders can't move, but they actually can. And it's not really like, you just need to understand that the shoulders can move. Ouch, that hurt. I hit something below me. Okay, so here I actually kind of make the arms a bit too long, I think. Because the arms are way too long. So I'm going to adjust that a bit. In fact, I'm just going to erase it and redraw it. I don't think I'm not even going to adjust it. I'm just going to fix it. So honestly, just like understanding when for me, I think I have like luckily for me, like I'm able to kind of figure out when something is just off. I don't really know why. I'm just able to do that, right? But maybe the question really is like, well, some people might ask like, how do you, if you're not used to it, how do you like figure out what the problems are, right? And honestly, I don't know. It's practice. It's literally just practice. If you practice, you will eventually be able to draw something. Like you'll be able to understand when something looks wrong, right? Like currently right now, I'm just fixing the arms because I realize it looks wrong. And yeah, I think that looks a bit better. Now, in this one, I didn't really draw I don't really like how I drew the legs that much. Also, I kind of want to make the legs a bit longer. So, something like that. When you make the legs longer, you make a more sexier character. So it kind of just depends, right? What you want to draw. Currently, I have no idea what I want to draw, but I'm just gonna make the legs. This is not a good practice. You should understand what you want to draw when you're drawing. But for me, I just want to make the legs a bit longer. It's kind of my normal, thing, right? normal proportion. So now I'm going to make the opacity a bit lower there. So yeah, I've been just drawing a lot of, so I guess I didn't really complete the story that I was talking about before. So I was basically drawing a bunch of art for a lot of YouTubers that I knew, friends, and that was basically was my practice. And I actually eventually started learning body anatomy, which is insane. Not really learning body anatomy, but just learning in general how to draw an anime character, right? So I actually learned quite a lot from that. Am I on the wrong layer? No. I'm just... Okay. But yeah, it was definitely a very interesting, like... Very interesting, how do I say? Like, I just learned a lot. Like, I learned a lot every time I kept drawing. Like, okay, how to make my line art better? How do I... Because there was a point where I was like, I really wanted to learn how to draw, you know, like what I'm doing right now, where I'm drawing like the actual structure of the body, right? I wanted to learn how to do that, but I never was able to do it because every time I did it, it just didn't work for me. So like that was the one thing I wanted to learn, but I couldn't get it, right? But eventually, well, now you see I can actually do it. So yeah, I'm gonna just draw a quick thing. I don't really want to focus too much on the eyes too much. Like, I don't want to focus too much on the face because I'm mostly practicing body posing. Right? I'm not gonna put too much detail on the face. In fact, I'm just going to do that. And I know the head looks bigger than normal. That's just because the reason why is because we can see the back of the head. Actually, I didn't really draw this properly, but we'll just copy the reference, I think. Okay, so one thing I realized is I made the thing a bit too long, right? I mean, it's fine. So again, with guidelines, you don't need to follow your guidelines that much, right? They're guidelines for a reason, right? And I'm probably not going to change my guidelines. I mean, I'm probably not going to follow the guideline too much. In fact, I'm going to actually change this a lot. Damn it. I don't know why, but this head just didn't look as good as I usually can make it. So maybe because I'm not really sure why actually. Okay, I'm gonna just erase it completely. Jeez. This is not good. This is not good, boys. This ain't good. For some reason, the face just ain't looking like what I want it to look like. And I think there's a reason why. So the head, I'm going to, you're not going to see that much. It just looks way longer than I want it to look like. So the face looks a bit longer than what I like it to be. And I could probably just shorten the face a bit. But also, I think that's not the only problem. There's something else. I'm actually not that good at drawing forward-facing characters for some reason. I'm better at drawing side views because I can understand, because the cube. I think the cube method works really well for side views and like different angles, but it doesn't really work well for forward-facing, right? So that's something I can consider when I'm drawing forward facing. Maybe I should try a different method, right? Because I used to be pretty decent at it, but now because I've learned something else, I'm trying to stick with what I've learned, and because of that, because I'm trying to stick with what I've learned, I've also downgraded a bit for some parts that I used to be decent at. Same thing, it's like with hands. I used to be good at drawing hands, and now I don't know how to draw hands because I actually understand how the hand works. I guess that means I didn't really know how to draw hands in the first place, but it was just because I used a lot of references. But now I'm like trying to learn how to draw hands without looking. I mean, without too much reference, right? And that is actually really hard. Now, I'm going to actually do a bit of cheating here. I'm going to make the head a bit smaller here. So the reason why this makes sense, I think, is because if you actually understand how perspective works, if she's looking a bit down, so you can see her. She's looking a bit down. So the pose I have right now, she's looking a bit down. And because of that, I believe that means the actual head shape should be a bit smaller, like not like the actual face, the front face, right? Because she's looking down. So that's probably why it looked a bit off, right? When I was trying to draw. So, because the face length isn't supposed to change that much. In fact, it doesn't really change at all. It doesn't really matter what the perspective is, because it's still like a triangle, right? So that looks a bit better. I only have 18 minutes left. I'm going to try my best to finish this in 18 minutes. I'm not going to try to be too picky with my art. But again, maybe it doesn't really matter too much. Like, I can just try to make... I can just make this a bit longer than 1 hour, right? But usually when it's longer than an hour, I don't know. I try to give you 1 hour, but sometimes it just doesn't work like that. Sometimes it just ain't working like that. So I will now, let's actually draw the head a bit so you can see. So actually, you know, so we can actually see the top of the head now, give it a bit more volume than normal. I'm gonna just use the same sort of hairstyle as this model right now. Very nice hairstyle, actually. Actually, to learn how to draw hair, I'm not really good at drawing hair, but you can learn hair by looking at wigs. I think that's what I've heard. At least what I've heard, you can definitely learn hair by looking at wigs. Haven't really tried it myself, but it might be worth, you know, looking at. Yeah. So, I don't know. You guys, you know, if you guys want to learn how to draw hair, maybe that's a first step. I haven't tried it myself, so I can't really say anything about it. But yeah, I just drew a bit of the hair. I'm not going to really be too focused on it at all. I just draw a bit of the cheeks, and then from there, now let's actually draw the whole body. So let's be real quick about this, because I don't really have enough time. We'll try to get this within an hour, because I want to show a whole art process, right? Draw the shoulders there. The shoulders are there. The collarbones will always follow up where the shoulders are. The collarbones actually one of the reasons why the shoulders can move, right? So that's why you need to understand that you can move the shoulder. The collarbone actually moves up when the shoulder moves up. So there we go. I'm going to make some adjustments here. So about here, I want to make Yeah, I just want to make a few adjustments. Not too many adjustments. The arms are a bit, actually, sort of the neck is kind of in the wrong place. I don't want to make the neck too thick though, because I want to try to stick with my style. So I'm gonna do something like that, yeah. Oh yeah, I guess the chest. I didn't really draw the chest here. But if you want to draw a chest, I guess it'd be maybe how would I even draw the chest here? How would I even draw the chest? The chest is a very difficult thing because I'm not really used to drawing the chest. I'm not super good at it. Also, I don't want to get demonetized. So I'm gonna be a bit careful with my. I'm gonna be a bit careful. I'm gonna be a bit more careful because I might get demonetized just because of how that works. So actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna draw like a. I don't know what I'm gonna draw there actually. It's okay. I'll figure it out. I'll figure something out because I don't know right now. I might even skip this part just because I don't want to get demonetized. I'll just draw without chest for now. I won't draw without a chest. I'll just draw without the chest. Yeah, I think that's okay. So if you can see right here, I actually made the arms too. I made the arms too high. So I'm actually gonna just completely remove that, and I'm just going to. Actually, I'm just gonna undo all that. Yeah, this is the problem. So I'm just going to undo all of that and move the hands. So usually actually it's better just to draw the hands first. Oops. Yeah, that looks a bit better. So that looks closer to my reference. So I did say I want to exaggerate, but I don't want to exaggerate too much, right? And of course the collarbone sort of goes there. So I'm gonna actually do something like that just to show it's bending quite a bit. And then here we're gonna just draw something like that. Yeah, okay, I'm trying to commentate. Okay, right now it's raining, but so I'm drawing the legs right now. I'm just adjusting it as how I wanted to adjust it, right? I'm going to. So I try not to focus too much on my guidelines just because when I draw the guidelines, like if you focus too much on your guidelines, you tend to get too biased, I think. That's what happens. And because of that, you don't really end up drawing as good as you can, as you could, right? Also, I'm actually going to make this lower leg much more shorter than, what am I pressing? Much more shorter because of foreshortening, right? I'm gonna make it like around here. Now this one, because I made the lower legs a bit too long, right? You can make the lower legs long if you want, but I don't really want to make the lower legs too long. It's not what I'm intending to do. Yeah, and this is kind of what I would have imagined. Oops. Your neck sort of, I think it's called the trapezium or what, trapezius or something. I don't know. I don't actually know any of how the body works. There's like a lot of names for the bodies. The gladius, the maximum gladius or something like that. What is that? That's like the butt place, right? The muscles at the butt. I wouldn't really know anything, but yeah, I think this is okay for now. I don't think I want to put too much detail. Actually, I will adjust a few things though. So there's a few things wrong about this. The arms are they're too like, yeah, there we go. That's a bit better. So the arms were a bit too low, as in it started a bit too low, right? The rib cage here, I'm going to just get that. I'm gonna actually just draw a line there to make sure to, you know, make it so like it's like, you know, visibly like it's showing that's facing forward. This one I'm gonna draw a bit of a weird one, something like that. And yeah. I might make this a bit more forward. I might have made the hips too, like here, right? I might have made it too thin. So we're just gonna do that. And actually, I'm just gonna remove that completely. I think that confuses that just really confuses it a bit, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to fix. If you're listening, I'm just trying to fix a few things right now. Also need ears. Ears really help. I'm just trying to fix a few things right now. But yeah, there's not really much to fix anymore. With legs, just try not to make it too like. I try not to make it too, what is it? Too stiff, right? Especially when you're doing anime art. I think it looks much nicer if you put a bit more curve into it, right? Because currently right now my legs look a bit stiff. The actual human body doesn't look very appealing, as appealing as anime characters. So that's why like body proportions are very important to learn, and how the anatomy works. But a lot of people if you look at a lot of artists, they tend to exaggerate a lot of things as well, because you know they realize it looks better if they exaggerate it, or like the curves, right? Yeah, I realized that the balance is not right in the body. So what I mean by balance is they're not really. It wouldn't work. This wouldn't work if you were actually posing, right? You'd be off balance. So I need to change that a bit. Because if I look at that, that's sort of. To be fair, it's also kind of part of it. The reason why it doesn't look as good is mostly because I am not drawing the shoes properly. And I made the legs too thick. So yeah, I think that's okay for now. I don't really want to do more because I'm probably gonna get demonetized if I do a bit more. I guess I could put clothes. Let's actually put a bit more clothes, right? So I'll do it real quick. We'll just do the same clothes that they have in the thing, in the reference. I'm not really good at drawing clothes. It's not something I am good at all. Mainly because I just haven't really practiced drawing clothes. This is something I do plan on doing later on. And actually, I want to talk a bit more about like what I want to do on YouTube. I want to do more art streams on YouTube. I've already mentioned this many times, but I really do want to do it because I want to keep the VODs and then look at it and be like, okay, so what can I improve, right? So it's kind of just like, I want to be able to do that, right? I think that would make, you know, making my progress much better. Or make my progress like, I'll learn a bit more and be able to improve, right? Yeah, there we go. Okay, now I can draw the chest a bit here. So the chest, I think, also gets stretched out because of the arm. I could be wrong. I don't know how it works. I don't have... I'm not a female. But I think it does actually move up as you move your arms a bit. Because you're stretching it, right? And final part is this. The socks really help make it look like it's like facing a certain direction. You see the habit I do here? I tend to I tend to draw on my lines too much, like sketch it like this. This is something I want to fix because it makes the... I mean, obviously I don't do it for line art, but for sketching, I still want to fix it just because I know if I fix it, I can clearly... It makes it easier to see my line art, right? And my sketches, which is good for references and stuff. Because when you're drawing references, right, like guidelines, when you're drawing guidelines, the problem is if you draw something too sketchy, it tends to be a bit hard to look at. I don't know how to explain that, but it's just like you're using a guideline, and because you make so many sketches like that, like sketchiness on it, you end up just like not being able to use it as a proper guideline just because how do I explain it? Okay, that looks better, by the way. I just made the head a bit bigger. But just because... How do I explain this? What was I even saying? What was I saying, guys? I don't remember. Oh yeah, when you're doing a bit sketchy, it's really hard to look at the guideline just because you're not trying to focus on like one single stroke of line. You're just trying to draw as many strokes to make it look good. So a lot of people tend to, when they do line art, they realize, wait, why does my art suck? Why does it look worse than when I do the sketches, right? And that's because that's one of the reasons. It's because you don't really see a proper shape. You don't really see the proper shape when you actually sketch like what I'm doing, right? Do sketches like this. So I do recommend actually learning a bit more about trying to draw much more less sketchy lines like this. I'll probably do another like reference image, right? I'll just do that right now. So I'll actually do that right now. So I'm going to do it real quick. Plus, I'm not really that strict about like getting it so it's under now or whatever. So let's just do it right now. We'll just make it a bit more you know, a bit more quicker. So first of all, I want to add a bit more volume to the hair. So actually the hair is about here, right? Yeah, the root of the hair is about here. So I'm gonna add a bit more hair. Hair is a bit of a complicated thing to do, right? And it's just because hair is very random. There's not really a way to... Also, why is my liner like thinner than normal? There we go. Hair is a more complicated thing to do. So to practice hair is a bit hard. Even I don't think I'm good at drawing hair still. I don't really think I'm very good at drawing hair, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, so like 2 months ago, I started taking a course in Colossal. Colossal is really good, by the way. Like if you really want to learn, like get proper like teaching material, I think Colossal is a really good place to learn from. It's a bit harder because it's mostly Korean, right? People like, I think it's like literally just Korean, right? Lecturers. So it's going to be all translated and you're going to have to be reading subtitles, right? But that doesn't mean it's bad for learning from, because I don't know Korean, but I still learn, right? In fact, for me, it's better just because when I'm reading, I think I learn better by reading and not by listening. So it's kind of like, it actually kind of works for me, but it doesn't work for everyone, right? But I believe you can buy a course and still get a full refund as long as you haven't watched. Oh, well, actually, you can't get a full refund if you haven't watched, like, I'm not sure. I think there's a cashback thing now. I'm not sure, so you guys might have to check that out. But there is, you can get a refund, I think, but I don't know. So yeah, so I think it's just something like, you know, you should maybe check it out, right? But I actually do think it is really good. The Colossal is really, really nice. And my friends and we've just been like binging some Colossal courses. I bought quite a few. They're very expensive though, I will say. I won't get sponsored by them, so I can't be like, because I'm not big, but so I can't be like, hey, you know, use my my coupon below to get a discount. But you will get a discount for your first purchase, by the way. That's something to note, right? But doesn't really do too much, right? It's still very expensive, especially if you don't live in America. Because currency, you know, like I live in Australia, right? The currency is crazy. The currency exchange is crazy. But it's still really good, right? I think it's worth it. It's just if you really want to spend time, because again, a lot of tutorials on YouTube, right? They're okay, right? There's a lot of good tutorials on YouTube, but they're also very jumbled up, right? No one's having like one, like you're not gonna ever get one sort of style, like one sort of method to help you, right? What do I mean by that? I mean like when you watch on YouTube, you're gonna get many like ideas, right? Just because everyone is different, right? On YouTube, unless you're just watching from the same like the same YouTuber. It tends to be really hard to learn on YouTube. I mean, I learned most of my reading on YouTube as well, but it's also like, oh, well, the problem here is you learn so many different ways, right? And then sometimes they don't work together very well. So Colossal courses, the nice thing about it is you can always check back to it again, right? And the very nice thing about that is when you're looking at a Colossal course, right? It's like a lecture, right? And it's all from the same person, right? And yeah, it's just really nice. Like, I do recommend trying it out. I think there is a cashback thing. I'm not really sure. I really do recommend trying it out. So, and you might learn a lot because I think Colossal has just better tutorials in general. Which kind of makes sense, right? It has to, right? Because you're paying a lot of money for it. YouTube is free in the end, right? And not saying that that means it's bad or anything. It just it doesn't really mean too much, right? But you just have to be careful with YouTube because all the techniques as well, they sometimes tend to be, I don't know why, but a lot of them tend to be sort of like life hacks or like little hacks that you can do for art. But usually that tends to be not great for drawing, right? That tends to be not good for drawing because you don't want to like use like, with drawing, I don't think is a good, it's not good to have like shortcuts, right? I think it's way better to just learn from the ground up, right? Yeah, because if you don't learn it properly, how do you expect to ever draw, like how to learn drawing properly, right? That makes no sense. But like, you need to really, a lot of artists, right, on YouTube, they're good, right? Don't get me wrong, but they may not be great teachers, but there are definitely some that are really good. Also, with anime characters, you try to show more of the neck. I kind of didn't show it this time, but I do recommend actually showing more of the neck. So that's something you guys can maybe try on yourself. Because right now, that is no neck at all. I can technically move this. Hold up. I'll move this so I can get the neck. Yeah, because it looks, characters with necks look way better with characters without necks. This is gonna be much longer than 1 hour, I realize, and I do apologize for that. But you know, I think I want to complete this. I don't want to just have half-ass it. Now, it looks a bit confusing now because it does look a bit confusing because the guideline below is a bit, it doesn't follow, like the face looks a bit confusing, but I think that's fine. We'll just I'm gonna actually make it much more thin, much more, the opacity a bit lower, like this. Yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna draw a bit more wrinkles here and there. I'm not really good at drawing wrinkles on clothes. I just haven't really practiced it that much. I've just sort of like done whatever looks right. Like there's definitely gonna be wrinkles where the chest area is. And even like here. Also, clothes will make the fat, like, will definitely make it so the fat sort of squeezes a bit, if there's a bit of fat of the character, right? Especially when the clothes is tight. So that's something to keep in mind. There's going to be a lot of wrinkles here. I'm not going to draw every wrinkle in the world, but I will. Also, shading is really nice. If you're able to or when you're coloring, definitely shading will help give more volume to your, will definitely give more volume to your art. Currently, right now, there's no shading whatsoever. Not saying, and I'm not going to do shading or coloring today. I actually haven't done any coloring in a long time, so I'm probably a bit rusty as well. Not only am I rusty, but it's just like, it's not what I'm trying to practice today. I'm just trying to practice posing. But let me know if this kind of style is okay, or do you think I could improve it some other way? Because right now, I think there's definitely a lot of ways I can improve this. Currently, I'm not really talking. I think for me, it's a bit hard to talk about other stuff while drawing, so that's why maybe drawing is not the perfect thing to do while doing a podcast. So I don't know. Let me know if this is okay. If this turns out okay, I'll do it more, but I won't do it every time. I think I still want to have videos where I focus more on the actual, I actually focus more on drawing. I mean, I'm not drawing, on talking, so then I can give you guys more interesting, stories. Oh yeah, I guess, actually, I'll talk about it next time. Like, there's been some interesting that's been happening with my life, but I'll talk about that another time. For now, I'm going to almost complete my drawing. The shoes, I honestly don't really care too much about how the shoe looks like. That's something I will just have to I'm just gonna butcher it. I don't really care. I'm done with the shoes, dude. I'm not good at drawing shoes. Feet is so hard to draw, not gonna lie. I kind of know the general shape, at least, but yeah, that looks okay. Let me just make the hips a bit much more higher. I want to make the hips. Wait, why does... Sometimes the pen feels like it's not really responding to me properly. I'm not really sure why. This one looks much more muscular, this character. Character. It's not really a... I don't really know. It looks a bit more muscular though. But anyways, I think I'm done. Hopefully this turns out to be an okay... hopefully this turns out to be okay, I don't really know. Let me know if this is okay as a idea for a podcast. Give me some feedback. I never get feedback, guys. Give me feedback, please. I need to improve my podcasting skills. It's not that bad though. I think I've been doing okay. I will say today's podcast episode might not be the best because this is the first time I'm doing this. I'm also gonna unsee this, see how that looks. See, that looks much better. It's not too sketchy, so you can kind of see where the lines properly go, right? But yeah, also I can hear someone screaming. There's someone screaming. It's because I live next to like a preschool, but man, they keep screaming. What's going on? Anyways, that is it for today. Also, I don't want to make that too... I'm indenting that too much. My god, the kids are so loud. Oh, okay, anyways. I'm going to... No, you know what? That was okay. Before it was okay. I'm just gonna leave that alone. I'm going to stop the podcast here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video podcast. I don't know if it was well done, but yeah, I don't know. If you guys liked it, then hit a like button, I don't know, smash the subscribe button. I don't really give that crap about that stuff. But before I leave, there is a Discord server. I have a Discord server. You can join it in my description below. Actually, there's a lot of shoutouts in the description below. Just check it out. The description has a bit of information about my social media, about the people who help me get this stuff done, like the podcast and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think I want to make more. I actually want to make more proper videos. So I'll see how that goes. I'll talk about that in the next podcast though, or maybe I don't know, whenever. But anyways, thank you guys for coming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.